Hello, colleagues, hello, friends, and welcome to The Corporation, the podcast that's too fun to fail. This is the show where I speak to employees of Hogswood-Cooper Media, the worldwide conglomerate that owns everything from private militaries to amusement parks. Each week, I strive to learn about and celebrate the folks who work for the many subsidiaries of this remarkable company. I'm your host, Dean Ardenfell, and I'm required to state that I am not employed by Hogswood-Cooper. But boy, am I a fan, and I think you're going to be too. So let's get into it, shall we? My first guest is the Director of Admissions at Hanson Online College. In that position, he's responsible for combing through 10,000 applications a year and honing them down to the 7,500 students the college accepts. He also has a pet chinchilla with over a million Instagram followers. Please welcome Barry Odenfork.
Oh, hello there, Dean. It's good to see you.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me to your podcast.
I'm so excited to have you here. Do you do a lot of podcasts or media?
Well, I really try to stay away from that. I'm really invested in my work.
Yeah, you sure are. To look at you, you don't look like someone who works in the online digital space necessarily.
Oh, well, that's the thing about online. It could be anyone who's on the other side.
That's true. You know what? That's what we've all learned since AOL Online, right?
Absolutely. Did you feel like I was 40? My profile pictures on the website make me look like I'm 40.
They do, yeah. Are those old headshots?
Oh, they're my son's pictures.
Oh, okay. So you use your own son's pictures and why do you do that?
Oh, well, he's essentially me. He's half me, but I digitally altered him, so he's gotten my wife's features taken out, and then I put the other half of me into him.
Is that so? I didn't know that could be done.
Is that confusing at all, or did you get that?
No, I understood it perfectly.
Okay,
why wouldn't you, if you wanted to, rather than find an old picture of yourself, take a picture of your son and digitally extract all of the characteristics that make them the other partner, and then force back in another 50%. No, you're shaking your head like I'm not right.
No, that's not the case. I really can't be doing that.
No, why not?
Well, of course, at Hanson Online College, we believe that anonymity is key, and we believe education should be given to everyone. And we don't need to know who you are, and you don't need to know who I am, and that's just the end of it.
Ah, I see. See, that makes a lot of sense. So you've got a lot of respect over there at Hanson for the privacy of your students.
Absolutely. That's the power of the online college. You don't need to be physically there and see people or have them see you.
Right. And some say that that's like a kind of a sterile and difficult way to learn, but you think that it's better to remove all of the human connection that happens at regular colleges.
I've read the articles, I've read the critiques. You think that just because you can't physically ask your professor questions, you can't connect with people in person, you think you can't find success after you graduate from our program. Well, I'll tell you what, we are just as good as University of Phoenix, if not better.
Wow. Oh wow! I didn't realize we were going to be name dropping and
no, I'm sorry.
Directly.
Should I not be naming our competition?
No. You can name whatever you want.
Oh, thank God.
So I guess I didn't realize that you were in such direct competition with.
Oh man, they have the power of marketing on their side. They started a long time ago.
Yeah.
But Hanson Online College is going to be cropping up the rear, Dean.
What? You said cropping up the rear?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, don't apologize. I'm just trying to clarify things.
I'm trying to take an education class with grammar, and I'm trying to expand my language.
Do they allow people who work for the college to take courses?
Well, unfortunately, we're in a bit of dire straits, so I do have to pay for my own tuition.
Oh, is that so?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so you don't get any kind of deal or anything on it?
Oh, no deal.
Now, see, it seems like an interesting business model to me. You're accepting 7,500 students a year.
That's correct.
Seems like a lot. Is that by design? You want to be able to, obviously, economy of scale, right?
Yeah, economy of scale. Ooh, someone's taking our business class.
Well, not yet, but I've read the brochure and I'm very interested.
Oh, very good. See, we do try to make it a robust alumni pool. We're trying to catch up to the amount of a lot of people and put them in and make a big audience for us so we can have a lot of alumni to pull from.
Are you okay? It seems like you're having an event here.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to really.
A younger woman just swooped in and put a glass of water in front of you. Did you want to have a sip of that or something?
Thank you, Patty.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have help. It's nice to have some assistance.
Yes. Sorry, this is Patty, my assistant. She's trying to help me as I age.
Oh, so you are aged. I didn't want to assume or be ageist in any way.
I'm 76, Dean.
76. Well, that's not that old.
Not that old, you say?
No. Oh boy.
How old are you, Dean? You look like not a shade over 30 for you.
It's all about your health, I guess.
It is indeed.
It really, my age is of no consequence. What I really wanted to ask you about is the professors at your online college. They've been accused of being unqualified. It was uncovered that some of them actually were high school students.
Yes.
And some of them are just AI bots, sort of running through a series of random lectures and assigning impossible amounts of homework.
Yes, absolutely. That's why, again, innovation is key in this day and age.
Sure,
Dean.
yeah.
We can't be expected to hire professors. Have you seen the state of academia in this time?
In this town and this time.
In
I've
this
seen
town,
both.
time
Yes.
and town. Yes, it's abhorrent.
It's abhorrent, and it must be difficult to make a profit without thinking outside the box, as it were.
Absolutely. See, our tenured faculty, be they high schoolers or AI, they don't require the types of benefits or salary that most tenured faculty at regular schools might need.
That makes total sense to me. I think I think the problem people were having with it was that you weren't divulging that information, and people were having to discover and unearth it.
Okay, well, how can you really tell between a high schooler and a professor?
And that's my point. I'm sure they can't, right?
They can't. They really can't. You're online. Again, you could be anyone.
Right. And I'm assuming the types of people who apply to your online college, maybe their IQ isn't at a level where they're going to notice the difference between a high school student and a college professor.
Okay, well, the IQ of my students is very high, Dean, you see. Do not insult the Hanson Online College community by assuming that their IQs are below 64.
64.
Below 64, Dean.
You're saying they're above 64.
They're above. Yes.
And that is.
Yes, I'm not implying that we need to boost our nums by claiming that the IQs are not above 64.
No, sure. Boost your nums. I've never heard that phrase before. Is that like something the kids say?
Oh, well, Dean, you need to really be with it. The online world is so expansive. I've learned so much online.
Yes. I'm wondering how you even comb through that many applications. Like if you're cutting down, what are you looking for when you're screening new students?
See, Dean, this is where education really scaffolded my technique. You see, a long time ago, I learned that you'd look at the college admission essay, yes. You look at the first sentence.
Sure.
Then you look at the last sentence.
Uh-huh.
And then you know.
Oh.
You have a strong sense of... I use this technique to skim through my textbooks as a child, you see. And look at me now, Dean.
Look at you now.
I'm the director of admissions.
At an online college.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You really get a sense of someone through the last sentence and the first sentence of their life, wouldn't you say?
I guess. I mean, let's say you opened an essay and the first sentence was, I've always known I wanted to be a veterinarian, even from the time I was very young.
Okay.
And then the last sentence says, and in conclusion, I hope to be accepted to the Hanson Online College. What would you do with that admission?
Well, I would say to you, you know what? Our veterinary program is of the highest caliber. Nowhere in your essay did you mention how you love animals, why you love them, the scaffolding. You need more support for the reason why.
Presumably that information would be in the body of the essay.
You need more of a thesis statement should capture it, Dean. You need more information to me. You'll write out.
So your advice to anyone applying to the college would be pack as much information into the first and last sentences as humanly possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and that gets right to the point.
That's just good writing, Dean.
It's just good writing. That's right. And the veterinary program at Hanson Online College, it being an entirely online college, how do you deal with things like, actual working on live animals?
Oh, yes. Well, that's...
Patty?
Need some more water?
No, thank you,
Patty. Patty came over and gave you more water and talked into the microphone. We appreciate
I didn't say anything the first time because I didn't want to.
No, I appreciate it. We don't. When things happen off mic, it's confusing. So it's nice that Patty's here and willing to talk into the microphone.
Thank you, Miss Mayonnaise. Listen,
you're welcome. This is a real downgrade from my television work.
Wow. Amazing. I feel lost at sea. I don't even know what to say next. We were talking about, I feel like maybe this whole thing was a diversion because you were about to explain how people can possibly learn to work on live animals on an online college.
Oh, that's true.
And then it was like a smoke bomb was thrown in the middle of the room.
Well, listen, Dean, again.
That was for a smooth exit.
Okay. Oh, there was a smoke bomb. Yeah. That's why it's so, that's why.
You don't see the smoke?
Okay. That's what caused your coughing in the first place, I think, Barry.
I've been studying magic and the illusionary arts.
Wow.
She's doing great.
We are definitely going to have Patty back as her own guest in her own right at some point.
Hanson's got a great illusions program.
Wow, incredible. This is incredible. But please, Barry, could you just illuminate a little bit of how one does surgery on a dog if one's only learned about it through the internet?
Okay, now this may be controversial, Dean, but again, we're trying to cut corners and save money. So I'm a big avid fan of YouTube.
Okay.
And there are plenty of butchering videos on YouTube that show how to butcher cows and pigs.
Yeah.
And essentially, the anatomy of an animal is thus. You have legs, you have thighs, you have breasts or bellies, you have a spine and a head. Once you realize that, you really get animals, Dean.
Okay, so for instance, if I took the online veterinary course, then my professor, who may or may not be a high school student or an artificial intelligence bot, might send me a YouTube tutorial on how to butcher animals, and that's all that's required for me to become a veterinarian?
Yeah, absolutely. Our faculty members, Dalton Brown, Ted Allen, Giada De Laurentiis, they'll teach you all you need to know about being a spectacular veterinarian.
Giada sounds definitely like a bot. That might be.
Oh, you'll be surprised, Dean.
It's so interesting to try to guess these sorts of things. You've also come into some criticism because the college is not accredited in any way.
Indeed, it's not. Look, I didn't expect this to be a gotcha-style podcast, but we still don't have accreditation, Dean.
And are you pursuing that avenue, or do you feel it's not necessary?
Oh, I'm pursuing it like the devil on horseback.
Okay.
I'm pursuing that accreditation like it's my life on the line, when it very well is.
Sure.
I'm trying to really invest in the college itself, and I know what you might say. You might say, oh, but Barry, you're just the director of admissions. Your job's only to admit students. It's not to potentially look for investors and pursue accreditation and find validity.
Right.
That might be the board of trustees' job.
Sure,
You might say that.
I might say that,
You might say that. But look, I'm really a hands-on kind of fella. From when I was born in the 40s, I did things by my hands. And by golly, if you want something done right, you gotta do it by my hands, Dean.
Are you the only one there who's worried about being accredited, or?
No, it's also my son is also very worried.
Does your son work for the company as well?
Yes, and my wife as well.
So I hate to ask this question, but I have to.
This is not a gotcha journalism podcast.
No, but if your son also works for Hanson Online College, what picture is next to his bio on the website?
Oh, it's my daughter.
Okay. And how did you alter the picture of your daughter?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. Gotcha. So I want to go back to something you said earlier when I said, are you worried about it being accredited? You said you're worried about it, yes, because like your life is on the line, because it is.
Yes, indeed.
How is your life at stake?
Oh, gosh. Well, the dean of the college is my wife.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and she's a feisty one, Dean. I met her so long ago, and she's a spitfire.
Sure.
And she really does put a lot of pressure on me and the children to really make this successful,
Yeah.
And she keeps threatening that she'll close the school and she'll close my department and then she might close our marriage, Dean.
Wow. So there's a lot riding on this.
A lot's riding on it, Dean.
Wow. And do you enjoy your work, or is this because it almost seems like you've been pulled into it by your wife over time, and that maybe potentially, if you didn't have this job, you could go out there and find yourself in some new way?
I would love to be able to. Oh, I'd love to be able to pursue my dreams.
What
my dream job, Dean.
What would your dream job be?
Oh, my dream job was to be a ShamWow salesman.
Yeah.
In mini malls. But of course, Dean, there's no classes to teach you that.
No, at least not at Hanson, right?
Not at Hanson, Dean. My wife's made sure of it.
Oh, so she's like...
We had Billy Mays.
You had him.
We had him.
He was going to teach a course.
She died. She killed him, Dean.
Oh, my God.
She killed Billy Mays, Dean. We had him on the faculty payroll.
Oh, gosh. Oh, no. I think an accusation of murder against one's own wife has never happened on my podcast before. I'm very... I don't know how to...
Please edit this out, Dean.
I don't know what the response is supposed to be to this. Yes, of course.
Please, thank you. And do not leave it in, please. I'll be listening, and please don't leave it in.
No, of course. I would never betray your confidence like that. I appreciate you confiding in me, and if there's anything I can do, please let me know. I had no idea that even happened to Billy May. Mays, right. After the break, we're going to talk to a second guest, and I also want to hear about this chinchilla of yours.
Oh, of course.
But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. The Corporation is sponsored by Vermont Comedy Club, offering world-class stand-up, improv, and sketch comedy 5 nights a week. The Comedy Club has a full bar, food menu, and table service, so make a night of it. Vermont Comedy Club is located just downhill from the Flynn Theater on Main Street in Burlington. They also offer classes for adults and camps for kids. For more information, visit vtcomedy.com. Now back to the show. All right, and we're back. We've been talking to Barry Odenfork, Director of Admissions at Hanson Online College. Are you okay, Barry?
I'm fine. I'm better. Patty definitely helped soothe me by patting my head.
Well, that's not how she got her name, I'm assuming.
It's more of a nickname.
Sure.
My given name is Skeeter.
Okay, now, Patty, I am going to need you to give that microphone to my other guest because I only have 3 microphones. Is that all right? Okay,
yeah.
Great, thank you.
You're
all right, I'm going to bring in my second guest in this conversation who works for a totally different subsidiary of Hogswood-Cooper. My next guest is a well-known talk show host and political commentator. His popular show, Asking For It with Dan Foglaw, has an audience of 3 million loyal viewers. He hates PC culture but loves yacht racing and craft mixology. Please welcome Dan Foglaw, everybody.
Hey, how you doing? Dan Foglaw.
Hey, Dan. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Dean.
Thanks for doing the show. Thanks for hanging to sitting tight here while I'm talking to Barry. Now, Barry, obviously, feel free to jump right into this conversation as well.
Thank you.
So, Dan, you've got your show has huge ratings. I mean, Cooper News, it's one of their biggest shows. It's a call-in show, right?
Oh, yeah. We take a lot of calls from people all around. Yeah, that's my show, Asking For It. I named it that.
You named it that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about that phrase really felt like this says everything that needs to be said about me?
Well, I named it Asking For It back in the day, back in the 70s.
Yeah, okay.
And it's really taken a whole new meaning these days, because I was, I'm a guy who I like to give people what they're asking for.
Okay.
Gotcha. If someone's asking for something, information, in my case,
right.
If you're asking for it, I'll give it to you. I bend over backwards to make my audience happy, and that's why they're loyal, because I'll do anything for them.
Right.
As long as it's not, to give in to the PC police.
Sure. But in general, you're known as someone who goes above and beyond and helps people when they ask for help. Right?
Oh, absolutely. If there's a car accident in the middle of the street, I'm in there. I'm pulling people out of the cars.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm doing emergency medical services for them. I'll do it. If you need it, I'll do it. I'm there.
So what has there been any fallout as the term asking for it has sort of evolved over time with the Me Too movement and all of this other stuff? Like it almost sounds as a phrase now as if you're mocking, consent laws and things like that. Like, do you get blowback?
Like you wouldn't believe, Dean.
Sure.
It's a nightmare out there.
I bet.
And because I'm a staunch feminist. And
that's so.
Oh, it is. It is. To me, that's not political correctness. That's just right.
Sure.
That's just common sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting that you're saying that because I'm looking at the transcript of one of your, 2-camera confessional style things here,
sure.
and this one's all about how we need to close more abortion clinics in the South and all this. And I'm just wondering, like, how do you quantify yourself as like a feminist when this is the kind of stuff that you're,
Well, those abortion clinics, they were not good ones.
Okay. Right.
So I want to close the bad ones.
I see.
So we can open up more good ones. You understand?
Gotcha.
And I talked about that on my segment, Not All Men, which is a segment of my show where we had a problem back in the 70s. It was an all men show, and so now we've got a segment where I make sure that some of the correspondents and the people behind the cameras, because it's important to get diversity in front of and behind the cameras.
Okay, sure.
So we make sure that it's not all men.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's just it's so interesting because your show is ideologically at best confusing.
Sure.
there are things that you say that seem like hardline conservatism, and then you'll twist it at the last minute, and it's just very difficult to get a sense on what you actually believe.
Listen, I know you've turned this podcast into a real gotcha journalism style podcast.
Yeah, real gotcha.
Not on purpose.
You want to throw me a quote or two? I'll defend it.
Okay.
You got something? Clearly, you want to tell me something I said.
I'm sort of paging through things here, but
yeah, you got a whole stack there.
It really did appear like you did a little sort of bullet point thing where it seemed like you were kind of making fun of children who were victims of school shootings for not being prepared with bulletproof backpacks, and I wonder,
sure, and that one's hard to defend, but.
Well, that's what I thought, but I didn't want to put you on the spot. But you asked me to, so
yeah, I did. I invited this. Absolutely. Here's the thing, when you roast someone, I've learned, from watching my daughter. Patty Mayonnaise is
Oh, that's your daughter.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
You
Okay.
saw her around here.
Yeah, she was just here. She had your microphone a moment ago.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, all right.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, your
little
daughter's my assistant, Dan.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And she's doing a good job for you.
Yeah, she's
Small-
fantastic.
Small world.
So my daughter's, she's really into the comedy, stand-up comedy.
Sure.
And I've learned from her that to really you roast the ones you love.
Yeah,
And
right.
I love these dead kids.
Okay.
I love. And when I was eulogizing, because the parents knew that I was an advocate for a sensible gun policy, and so they invited me down to Florida, down to Parkland, to eulogize these kids. Listen, you asked, Dean, and I got answers. And
Well, I was asking for it. So
and hey, that's a good plug. Thank you very much.
I mean, see, this is so crazy though. Like, how do you know when like a 69-year-old person from Miami, Florida, turns on the television, watches your show? How do you get people to understand what you're all about when it's quite frankly all over the map?
Well, that's a great question. I at the end of all of my my episodes, I have a segment called "What Was She Wearing?"
Okay.
And that's where that's what was she wearing as a metaphor for what did Dan Foglaw mean? And that's sort of to sort of
what she
explain
was wearing was really like what your intention was.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. See, you get it. It's easy to understand.
Sure is. Yeah.
I respect my audience.
Okay.
And so I trust them to understand. That they know what I mean.
Yeah.
And but if they don't, I explain it at the very end. I say, hey, by the way, I know I made some comments, about Greta Thunberg and the climate movement, which I fully believe is very it's important. But I said,
but you had like a huge chunk on her that was like seemed very disparaging.
Yeah, I basically put up an infographic, an interactive map, sort of plotting out areas of the Atlantic Ocean where she might possibly drown.
Yeah.
If something were to happen to her.
I liked how it was an interactive map that you overlaid the Amelia Earhart controversy on top of. It was fun to see like which.
Absolutely. I'm in support of women circumnavigating the globe and traveling solo.
Yeah.
I think it's
but
very
you can see how confusing this is because you were ripping on her, roasting her, showing a map of places she might die, getting into aviation history all at the same. It was very confusing.
Sure. Well, I actually addressed that controversy in a special piece I did called "Time's Up."
Okay. Yeah. Again, these names are you using it? The way
Time's Up. It was the end of the episode.
Oh, I see.
So I said, hey, we need to before the world ends, we gotta make sure that Greta Thunberg doesn't go the way of Amelia Earhart. You know what I mean? We want to make sure she doesn't disappear. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
If you know what I'm saying.
Okay. See, I do, but you're again with the tone of voice. It sounds like you're suggesting something nefarious.
No, never.
This is the kind of stuff we love to get into. Now,
me too.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. I got to be honest. I kept trying to watch the end of your show, and every time something like this came up, the person I was watching it with would ask me to turn it off because you would say something like "Me Too" or "Time's Up," and they would be like, "This is a white man who doesn't understand this," and they would shut it off. So I never got to see the end of your show. So I was so confused about what the other 22 minutes of your show had meant.
Well, Dean, you hang out with tasteless ass.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I can't argue with you there because my mother is not a very astute viewer, put it that way.
I'm sorry to hear that. You have a good relationship with her, Dean?
No. We haven't talked in ages, and I thought this might be a way to connect, and so I said, hey, I have to do some prep for this interview with this man named Dan Foglaw. Do you want to watch his show with me? And she said yes, and then we got about 2/3 of the way through it, and she said, get out. So
if there's anything I could say to her, is there anything?
Do you have to make appeals like this?
Constantly.
You do.
Constantly. It's taken up the majority of my airtime at this point.
Yeah.
Explanations and apologies because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. Thinking I'm some kind of a bad guy.
Of course, of course.
But I mean, you can't even talk to a woman these days. You know what I mean?
Okay, see there, again, so
because it's all men here.
Oh, right.
Women are not getting the proper platforms that they deserve. You can't talk to a woman these days. I'm trying to amplify female voices.
So interesting, because the first sentence you said sounded like you were complaining about PC culture.
I don't understand.
And then you clarified it. There's 3 men sitting in a room here, so women are not getting.
It's 3 men and a Patty.
3 men. Oh, right, Patty. I forgot she did leave in a haze of smoke. So I for a moment forgot
Aren't those
about her.
illusions incredible? I've been telling her she's got to pursue this. And by the way, when I said PC police earlier, I meant cyber cops. I meant.
Okay. I want to bounce back to Barry for 1 second and just I've neglected to ask you about your chinchilla.
Oh, my chinchilla!
With all of the Instagram followers.
Oh, yes.
So how did your pet chinchilla become an internet celebrity?
Oh my gosh, Dean. Well, little known fact, you've seen my pet chinchilla before. The whole country has.
Oh, is that so?
Yes, it's funny. He's a chinchilla, but he's actually a chihuahua. It's the Taco Bell Chihuahua dog.
Oh, is it?
Yes, I believe his name was. Is it Paco?
You don't remember your own pet's name.
I feel like...
And you don't know the difference between a chinchilla and a chihuahua?
I feel like I made the Instagram account for him. Mm-hmm. I said chinchilla. I think I meant to write chihuahua.
Oh, okay.
But he's a famous dog, Dean. That's why he's got so many followers.
Wow.
People know him.
Okay, so we've clarified that. You're there's a lot of confusion in this episode. But also, I want to bounce back to Dan here because you also, in your little form, you said that your one of your hobbies was competing in regattas and sailing all over the world and making your own cocktails. I'm assuming on the boat.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to combine the two, and that's why I was able to create such an informative infographic about Greta Thunberg and her sailing. Because I'm a fan myself.
I clicked one level deeper and superimposed against those other 2 maps is your route around those areas. So you went to those areas and mapped all of them.
I did, yeah, and I got in a lot of trouble for that, and that's where the the cyber cops came in.
Gotcha.
Because I mapped it was an illegal route that I did. I traveled into a lot of international waters.
Okay.
Crimes there.
Sure.
Of various sorts.
What kind of crimes?
Just fraud.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought that I could get away with fraud. Money laundering. And elections fraud and just I love fraud.
You must have spent
some insurance fraud.
Quite a bit of time in each of these places to have all this racked up.
Absolutely. That's when if you recall my show Asking for It, which I named, went off the air for about 2.5 years, and I was presumed dead. And
so I clicked on this map again. So we've got the where I think Greta Thunberg could or should die.
Yeah.
And we've got the where is Amelia Earhart, and then we've got these are the places I went for 2.5 years. Then I'm realizing there's even more things we can put on this map. We put your accusations of fraud all over the world.
Sure.
And then you've created a mixology, a cocktail for every place that you were accused of a crime.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So it is, and that's what I think it makes a nice gift for a birthday or a holiday gift. I've got cocktails based on various types of crimes and
sure. What's your favorite
murders.
Cocktail based on a crime you've committed?
Oh, my favorite crime-based cocktail would probably have to be the Never Gonna Find Him Negroni.
Ooh.
And that's it's made from gin, Campari, and the blood of your enemies, whoever they may be, whether it's a dog, a chinchilla dog.
Sure.
Listen, that guy.
You don't like my dog?
Anyone who gets too famous, anyone who gets more famous than Dan Foglaw, I have to off him.
Okay.
And that's why I'm,
So I think we're getting dangerously close to an admissible confession from you, Dan, and also, the thing I'm going to have to cut out with Barry about his wife killing.
My wife killed Billy Mays.
I think we'd better wrap this up.
I'll tell you what, don't go looking in the Indian Ocean for Billy Mays.
Why would you say that?
Because that's where we disposed of him.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, so you were with his wife when this happened.
Indeed,
oh yeah. We've had a love affair going on for many
I'm aware
years
of it
now.
too.
Yeah.
I'm what the internet people call a cuck.
A cuck. Is that so?
I love watching Dan fiddle with my wife.
That's why Barry, he's getting into it. It's more of a hot wifing situation because there's no shame involved. And
shame.
He enjoys it, and we put on a show for him.
And she likes it too. We're all consensual adults who communicate.
Is Patty Is Patty the result of this love affair?
Yes.
Okay, so... Wow.
I was going to get to that. Patty is our love child. That's why we call her Skeeter, because it was an ejaculation accident.
Wow. I think this is about where I'm going to get off the ship, as it were. So I can't express to you how rewarding this was for me, and how enlightening. I'm a relatively sheltered person, and so this has really opened up my world educationally, and with regard to television, sex positivity, maritime law.
Absolutely.
There's so many issues that that my listeners are gonna be so interested in hearing. So that's about all the time we have for today on The Corporation. I want to thank my guests for speaking with me and our listeners for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, and email me at deanardenfell@hotmail.com. And remember, Dean Ardenfell is not and has never been an employee of Hogswood-Cooper Media or any of its subsidiaries. Cheers. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys.
The Corporation is a presentation of Unicow Media. Dean Ardenfell was played by Nathan Hartswick, Barry Odenfork was played by Brian Park, and Dan Foglaw was played by Sherm Jacobs. Subscribe to hear new episodes every Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. For more great stuff, follow The Corporation Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and check out thecorporationpod.com.